Welcome to SNC TV. Join us right here to see the ins and outs of Smiles and Christ Tattoo in Las Vegas. Meet our artists and see everything that happens inside the shop. Join us for more.
Las Vegas survive. Home of Smiles and Christ will turn your dreams into reality.
So, Addy
Hi.
Cat.
Hi, I'm Addy.
Addy Cat on Instagram.
Addy Cat.
So let's start with your favorite style of tattoo, because that's, it's really at the end of the day, it's very important that if you're getting, I think if clients are trying to come and get bigger work, they know what you like to do,
Right.
because that's also where your passion lies.
Right.
So, tell us a little bit about what your favorite style of tattoo to do is.
I mean, I flip back and forth, but most of the time I'd say I'd primarily, if I could just do one thing forever, it'd be like full color, like illustrative realism. That's my favorite area, but I mean, that translates a lot to when I love cover-ups. So I kind of try to filter that into my cover-ups as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you say, the illustrative part, like, what do you mean? Like, do you like, it's not like a full realism, right?
Right. I mean, I can do full realism, but I just see color in a way that I feel like not everybody does, and I like to incorporate that into my artwork, and I like to kind of bring I was a painting artist for years and years prior to tattooing, so I like to bring a little bit of my painting style into tattooing as well.
Yeah, and that's, as an artist myself, that's one thing I've noticed a lot with your work is, I see a lot of your paintings,
Right.
and then I look at your tattoos and I'm like, okay, like,
Right.
these tattoos come from a painting perspective.
Yeah.
Which is, it's very, you don't see it a lot in the industry anymore.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the younger generation are just, doing fine line, easier stuff to do. So to see like the transition from painting to skin,
Right.
it's I love it. I think it's dope. And I can definitely see the way you paint when I look at your canvases.
Yeah.
And then I look at your tattoos, and I can I get the same feeling when I see them both.
Right.
Is that kind of like what you enjoy doing the most because you feel most comfortable?
I think so.
Yeah.
It definitely comes from a level of comfort. I would say like part of it is because that's just what I know, and have learned, and I just translated it into tattooing. And then part of it is purposeful. Like if I see something and it, I could make it super smooth and like more realistic, but if I can bring a little bit of an edge to it and make it have my own flair, then that part of it's purposeful as well.
That's where you create. I've always been a big advocate for it. I've always said it a lot that, as a tattoo artist, everything we aim towards is to create our own lane, create a version of a tattoo that if someone sees it, they're like, oh shit, that Addy did that, like, because I can see that that's
Right.
her style. Not everyone can do a portrait, but anyone doing that style of work can do a portrait.
Right,
because they're like, basically you're just copying an image
Right.
to skin.
Yep.
But when you add your own artistic flair to it, something that only your hand does, because that's how your hand
Yeah.
is the brush stroke. And that's, a lot of like paintings and painters, that's how they would, in the old days, that's how they depicted between painters, because they could see the way their brush strokes were and stuff.
Right.
So I do notice that a lot with your tattoos, and I think that's a really cool part of what you do. So
Right. And yeah, and I think, I learned this back when I was in art school, like you don't pick your style, it kind of picks you.
yes.
So that's the part of it that's not purposeful. But then once you learn what that is, then you can kind of tweak it and make it more of your own after that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's. I push that with anyone I try and teach that's coming into the industry is don't come in with an idea that this is what you're going to do, because it doesn't matter. You have to
Right.
learn the fundamentals, basics, the techniques,
Yep.
all the things that make the tattoo first.
Right.
And then you can go on your own journey of like, finding where your artistic
Right.
ability lies, what style of tattoo you want to do for the rest of your life. And then, that comes into then building a whole, thing around yourself to get the reputation as that kind of artist.
Yeah.
And then from that, after years and years and years of just doing it over and over and over,
Right.
that's when it then turns into like people being able to see your tattoo and knowing that it's you. It takes a long, long time. And
Right.
that's, like a lot of people these days come into it thinking that they're going to only have to put in like 5 years and they're going to be everywhere.
Yeah.
5 years, you haven't even scratched the surface.
No, not at all.
It's like,
not at all.
I've been 25 years. I'm still reinventing myself to this day, trying to, beat the last year of what I did.
Yep.
And it's like, as soon as you stop,
Mm-hmm.
that's as soon as you try and stop pushing that boundary, and you'll hear a lot of people say it, that's when you start to plateau.
Yep.
So
Yep. You always
think
have to want to learn.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And get better for yourself.
Right.
So let's put it into the client's perspective then. As like, what would you think is like a perfect client scenario coming to you to get tattooed by you? Like how would you want them to come to you, and that process, like what gives you the most ability to do the best tattoo for them,
Right.
basically?
I think just a basic knowledge of who I am as an artist, knowing what my artwork looks like so that you have a little bit of trust in me. And then also having just a basic idea of what you're wanting. Because there's a huge difference between, there's this huge gap that I feel like we get from clients, and it's either we get clients who have no idea what they want, which just leads to a lot of confusion, or you have extra specific paragraphs and paragraphs of what you want. And I think having somewhere in the middle where it's, the idea, the placement of where you want it, roughly about how big you think you want it, although sometimes that changes depending on the artwork. But not being so dead set on it has to have this and it has to have that, and being a little bit more open to the artist's interpretation.
Right.
But then also not being completely clueless, because when somebody comes to me and says, do whatever you want, unless you want to pick something from one of my wanna-dos, I can't just look at you as a person without knowing who you are and pull something out of my ass,
Yeah. So let's go back to wanna-dos. Explain what's a wanna-do. Like what explain what you want people to know, that when you put up a thing and it says these are my wanna-dos.
Right.
What is that?
Most of the time a wanna-do would be
the name says it all, but
yeah,
break it down.
something that I have pre-drawn. Usually it's something that I haven't been getting enough of. Like if I haven't been getting enough portraits and I'm just dying to do portraits, I'll do a whole, set of 5 different portrait wanna-do options that I'll just put out in hopes that somebody's like, oh, hell yeah, I would love to have that portrait.
Right.
Or sometimes it's stuff where it's like, I haven't tried this. I would like to try this. It's always just a pre-drawn image that I'm putting out for anybody to grab.
Yeah. So basically you'll put together, artwork that you would like to do as a tattoo.
Right.
Post it on your socials.
Right.
And then it kind of takes the guesswork out of, because people can see it and they're like, oh shit, that's dope design. I'd really like to have that. Not everyone is creative and they like to see things before it happens.
Yeah.
For us, we can see it in our mind.
Right.
For people who don't necessarily know exactly what they want. They want to see a finished version of something, which is something we've always dealt with as artists. So I think the want to do thing is cool because obviously, like you said, it's stuff that you want to do, and the person who's looking at it can see like a finished version of that.
Right.
So they don't have to do any guesswork. They're like, oh, that's cool.
Right.
You know, so
And, well, in hopes that even if they don't want that, maybe that inspires them to get something similar. And
Yes.
I think I've had that happen more than people actually being like, I want this specific wanna do that you did. I feel like I've had a lot of people see my wanna do's and be like, oh, I didn't know you could do that.
yeah,
Can
sparks a little bit of
yeah,
imagination.
can you do that but with this character or whatever?
Right.
So
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. So as far as clients go, you know, and this is for all of us really, like we want some freedom. You know, if someone comes in with an exact thing that they've been obsessing over, it really chokes our creativity.
right,
You know, like,
absolutely.
and there's when I say that, there's different levels to the game. Like not ability is so much, because some of the guys that are doing, you know, everyday stuff are amazing tattooers. They just don't care to design. They don't care to come up with, you know,
Right.
different creative forms of, you know, design. So they might welcome the fact that someone walks in with something that's finished and it's exactly what they want. There's no legwork for them. They can print it out and tattoo it.
Right.
For us, where we you know tend to lean more towards the creative, you know, custom design style tattoo. So
Well, and I think we know visually what looks good. I think one thing I've been trying to really get a lot of people who send me like, I need this in it and that and this. I try to like narrow them down to 3 things because I feel like 3 is a really good number of options for a piece. Once you get into like 4 or 5 things, like it has to have this because this means that, and you know, you get into 5 different meanings in one tattoo, it becomes clustered. And first of all, that's really hard to read from like across the room. You can't, if you got like 7 different, like a butterfly and a bird and all that, you can't read that. And it just makes it look like you don't know what an actual good piece of artwork is. Like
the composure of it.
yeah.
So basically, I think if people tend to lean towards that, then they have to be open to bigger.
Yeah.
So it's
Absolutely.
like, okay, if you want 7 specific things in your tattoo, you can't do a half sleeve. It's got to be the full sleeve.
Right.
And the funniest thing is, like, you know, I've seen all walks of life in my years of, you know, you see everything. There's nothing that shocks you anymore. But the one thing that I do know is that most people regret a small tattoo over a big tattoo.
Oh yeah.
So even though they don't know they want a full sleeve,
Right.
they want a full sleeve.
Yeah.
And eventually, even if they've just got that little idea in their head that, oh, I'm eventually going to do it,
Yep.
they're better off doing it from the start,
Right.
and getting the best tattoo they can
Absolutely.
than trying to jam 8 tattoos in one because they're scared to go bigger to start with.
Yep.
So
I get that a lot where, excuse me. I feel like a lot of people will come to me and be like, I tattooed them 2 years ago, and they'll come to me and be like, I wish we would have made this, you know, my whole arm instead of this little tiny thing. Or even if they were planning on building a sleeve, they just started too small. And it's, yeah, you see that way more than somebody being like, oh, I went way too big. I took up too much space. Like, I mean, ideally, the majority of people are getting tattooed because they like the way tattoos look on their body. So there's not really, once you start getting tattooed, there's no such thing as taking up too much space unless you end up running out of room. But then that's when you just start reworking and redoing things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't, not many people want to wind it back. They want to keep going forward.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, that's, I mean, it's a big part of what we do. It may seem insignificant to some people, but I think like you know, I always try and, obviously I listen to what someone wants at first, but then try and give them my advice on,
Right.
just from constantly doing it every day for 20 years, 25 years. Like, hey, I know you think you know better,
Mhm.
but this is what actually looks
Right.
better.
Right.
You know what I mean? Without trying to force anything or anything like that. And most of the time, if people stick to their guns, they'll come back and
Mhm.
be like, shit, I wish I'd listened.
Right.
Can we do this now? And then most of the time it's too late.
Yep.
You kind of got to compromise then to make the design look better, because you've already pigeonholed it into an area where it's
Yep.
like, okay, like it's very hard to add onto now.
Yep.
If we just stretched it out from the start,
Yeah.
we would have had way more miles more, better
Right.
results. But I think people are cluing on a little bit. Social media's helped out a lot in the
Mhm.
fact that you can see big tattoos all the time.
Right.
You can see what works
Yep.
and what doesn't work,
Yep.
just from seeing constant pictures of
Yep.
smaller stuff and bigger stuff.
Right.
So,
Right.
so obviously we're in Las Vegas. You're not from Las Vegas.
No.
So
Hmm.
tell me a little bit about the transition for you, living here, how you like it compared to Illinois, and how you feel that tattooing is different here compared to, what you're used to.
Um, I mean, for starters, when I first started tattooing, a good majority of my clients were people from my hometown, which was a very small town in Illinois. And that from the start, like, it's a very small town minded type of thing. So you get a lot more of the what you would get in more of like a walk-in shop. Like, I just want this thing that I saw. Can you just slap it on me or whatever?
Yeah.
But then once I got further along, I would say the biggest difference clientele wise, would be out here. I mean, you see more people wanting to spend more time, and they're not as worried about like, can we fit this all in 3 hours? I feel like I've seen more people with patience and they're willing to come back, versus back home I was dealing with a lot more of like, I took this time off of work, we have to get it done in this 4 hours or
Right.
I'm never coming back, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing. I mean,
What's that do for you and your tattoos?
it slows me down, which I have a habit of rushing tattoos. Like, especially if it's not something I'm super passionate about. So it helps me slow down and make a better tattoo in general, and it looks better. And I build more of a relationship with my clients that way. I do have really good relationships from clients back home. Actually, two of my best friends they started out as clients.
Yeah.
But I think having that extra time really lets me get to know the person and what they like and what they're really like wanting out of a tattoo.
Yeah.
So,
well, we got to remember tattoos. The technique of putting a tattoo in is very, very difficult. As much as people like to think that it's an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Anyone can put it in and put a photo up, whatever. It's when you see the healed result.
Right.
Is 100% the most important thing about what we do.
Yep.
And unfortunately for a lot of people watching on, they don't get to see that part.
Right.
They just get to see the glitz and glamour of the whole day and doing it and the finished version, blah, blah, blah. I think if the focus was on the healed tattoo, there would be a lot of different, opinions about what people are doing.
Absolutely.
I've seen some of the greatest shit in the world on social media in videos and photos, and happen to see it in real life, and it is not anywhere close to the same. So
no.
I think that's I think slowing down and having people let you do what you do, having the patience to do that second session, you know,
Right.
really in the long run
Yeah.
is way more beneficial for them.
Right.
We know it's beneficial for us.
Right.
Trying to explain that before they
Mhm.
see a healed version is very difficult. But I think that if we can educate people enough to understand that, you know, let us take our time, let us
Mhm.
give you the best possible tattoo we can.
Right.
I think tattooing in general will
Yeah.
be a lot better. And, you know, we'll see a shift into a lot more people having good healed work rather than just really cool photos at the
Mhm.
end of the session.
I mean, in general, it's an investment, whether you're getting, you
Oh,
know,
100% it is. It's
something
not cheap.
small or whatever. So, like, if you're going to invest and you're going to save the money for it, you might as well, you know, spend the extra amount of
Get the
money for
result.
it. Yeah. Get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, you just spend a bunch of money either way.
Yeah.
And when you rushed it, it's not as good.
That's right. Yeah. So let's circle back. Vegas.
Vegas.
Yeah. What do you think?
I have mixed feelings on Vegas.
Uh-huh.
I'm not really a city person. I do enjoy like the benefits of living in a city, like, you know, all the restaurants, and, you know, I can drive 5 minutes and be at whatever store I could possibly think of, versus like growing up. I mean, the town I grew up in, I don't think we got a Walmart till I was almost into high school. So it's a huge difference in that.
Right.
That matters. So
We have them on every corner.
yeah. And now I hate going to Walmart, but it's just different. Back home, I think the people are a little bit different here than there. It's a little bit more closed off. It's harder to make friends here. Like within my first couple of years of tattooing back home, I had tons of friends that I made through it. And I'm not saying that I haven't made good acquaintances and stuff like that, and I have good relationships with my clients here, but I think it's more of it's a transient city, so
Yeah.
people aren't more as willing to make friends here.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is true. In saying that, I've got 3 of my best friends that I've
Yeah.
pretty much ever had in my life that I've met here.
Right.
And that takes time too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I figured it's going to be
how
a
long
while.
you been here?
I'm getting pretty close to 2 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've only been here 7, so I can't really talk, but 2 years, you know, like
Mhm.
you'll meet a lot more people in the time,
Right.
and you know, you could meet someone like there actually is, like, the crazy thing about Vegas is that a lot of people see the strip, they see the glitz, they see the
Mhm.
glamour, they see all the things associated with Vegas.
Right.
What they don't realize is, you know, there's a couple million people that
Yeah.
live here.
Yeah.
It's got quite a big
It's a very big small town.
local small yeah, it's a big small town. It's
Yeah.
a perfect way to say it.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of people who've never been here don't actually realize there's
Oh, no.
like suburbs here.
Yeah.
And
Very much so.
For us, we're from out of town, so meeting locals is a little bit harder if you didn't go to high school, you didn't grow up
Mhm.
here. But I've been lucky enough now to meet a lot of really great locals, and
Right.
you know, obviously we want to meet more because we're here to stay.
Yep.
My wife, I would say, you know, she wasn't raised here, but she's a local. I
Mhm.
mean, how long till you say you're local? You
Right,
know what I
right.
mean? Like, how many people are actually born and bred? How many people have lived half their life here?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like, I feel like when you live half your life somewhere,
Yeah.
that's your city. Like, that's all
Absolutely.
you know. That's,
Absolutely.
you know, so Vegas for me is like, it's something you can't even really put it into words, I don't think, because it's nothing like anything
No.
that you'll ever.
It's different.
Yeah, it's completely
Yeah.
different. Like,
Yeah.
it's a city that is just plopped straight into the middle of a desert, and it's full of fucking craziness.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever visited anywhere else in the world that even compares.
No.
So building a business here isn't the easiest thing in the world. I mean,
Right.
we work on it day in, day out, trying to,
Yep.
you know, let people know that we're here,
Mhm.
firstly, because of the local thing, because we didn't grow up with a lot of people that live here.
Mhm.
Obviously, they don't, you know, exactly know who we are.
Right,
So,
right. And I think little things like my best friend that moved here the year before me, she's in a band and I've been going out to her, her events and meeting people through her. So just like having those little connections and people who are meeting people and then they bring them to you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or like I've been working with a group that works heavily in the arts district, the ISI group. So I've been doing like the little painting events and stuff with them. And I feel like I've slowly started to make friends through them too. So it's just the little things and making sure that you're not just like going to work and then going
hiding
home.
away.
Yeah, which is really easy to do when we spend all day talking to people and
Yeah.
that's our job is people.
Yeah.
It's easy to just want to go home and hibernate, but you got to
That's
get
right.
out and talk to people.
Yeah, you got to network, you got to meet people. You don't know who you're going to meet.
Right.
And you don't know who their friends are.
Right.
You don't know who they know. You can't do that from home.
No.
Even though we can contact so many people through social media,
Mhm.
it's so much different when you're actually out
Right.
talking to people,
Right.
meeting people, shaking hands, giving business cards out. Like I think a lot of the disconnect we have these days is
Mhm.
real life and internet life.
Right. And
So-
social media trying to become real life and it's
Exactly.
not.
Yeah, it's definitely not. And I think when you actually meet people in real life,
Right.
they get a sense of, hey, this is a human being.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just a picture or a video
Yep, you
or
can actually
something
put
like that.
a face to it.
Yeah, and I think, we've lost a lot of that. We're lucky enough to come from a generation that we knew that before social media.
Mhm.
I worry for the kids more than anything.
Oh,
That
yeah.
they don't know how to do that.
Right.
So I don't want to get onto a tangent about that. The whole podcast could almost turn to that.
Yeah. Yeah, we could talk for days.
So I want to circle back into the tattoo side of things. So as an artist, what do you feel like you offer to clients that makes their experience a little more unique? So it's just not like everywhere else where you walk into a studio, you ask for a tattoo and that's it.
Right, and that's what you get.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I mean, I think you have the same kind of outlook on this as far as like just creating an experience and building those relationships. And, if you're sitting with a client, like trying to get to know them, like that's not just a canvas there. That's a human.
Right.
And, I think that makes for a better tattoo in general because I know the person, I know what they enjoy. I know, everything about it. So when it comes to experience, like that's somebody that you could make friends with or, like having lunch with them or, like we always have movies and stuff going, like talking about the movies that are going or, just really getting to know the person. And I feel like a lot of times for me, I end up in kind of and I know a lot of artists feel this way. We get into kind of like a therapist type of situation. Yeah. And it's funny the things that people will tell you when they're in pain. I know a lot of really intimate details about people and just making sure that my clients feel that comfort level as to where they can talk to me like that. Yeah. I have gotten a lot of clients in the past who have told me I went into a shop, the artist was good, the art was good, but I just felt almost like I didn't belong there or like
the experience wasn't comfortable.
Right. Or like, and there's nothing wrong with, I know a lot of artists struggle with social, things because art is demanding and, so some artists will put headphones in and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But like, I think for me, part of my experience, what I bring to the table would be I will talk to you and I will create that relationship with you. And I don't have headphones in, you know?
Yeah. It's funny. Like I've noticed a lot that movies really connect people. Like we've had days here where the whole conversation for 8 hours is about movies. You know what I mean? And like, and then it's like, hey, this movie's great. We put it on. We all watch it together. Obviously we listen. We don't get to watch so much.
Right. Yeah.
For me, like if we have something on that I think, oh, that sounded like it was dope,
Yeah.
you know, I'll
I
watch
tried
it
to watch
later,
Wicked
but-
the other day, and I can't. It's a musical. You can't. I mean, you can listen to the music, but I had no idea what was going on. I'm gonna have to rewatch it.
Some movies you really have to sit and watch, but
yeah,
it's funny how that's like such a strong topic of conversation with a lot of people. Feel we all kind of feel connected to a certain style of movie, and
right.
I really like that part of
Yeah.
of what we do here. I mean, for me building this shop, I've had plenty of shops in the past, and this one was the first opportunity I had to build exactly what I wanted, from an owner's perspective, but mainly from an artist perspective,
Right.
because at the end of the day, the biggest thing for me is offering you guys a place where you feel comfortable creating,
Right.
because that's what it's 100% all it is about, is creating art, creating tattoos. And first and foremost, I wanted the artist inside the shop to be comfortable, because that's when they get their best work out, and then creating basically an unforgettable experience for the client. Because on their side of things, basically that's the whole tattoo experience is what they're going to remember forever. And it will, predominantly decide whether they're going to come back or whether they're going to find someone else.
Right.
So in building this place, it was all about comfort. It was all about having a cool experience, making the client feel as though they're part of what's going on and not just coming and like
sorry
coming in and we're doing our thing and they just like sitting there and then leave, and then it was very cold. That's kind of the opposite of what I wanted to create here. So if anyone's been tattooed here before, they know that if they're here for a full day, they get to chill in a nice waiting room. We're going to have lunch together. We're going to hang out. If you want to talk, we can talk. If you want to chill, you can chill. If you want to watch your phone and put your headphones in, if you want to pick the movie, we're more than happy for you to pick the movie, because I am fucking sick of picking movies. I've watched everything I know a million times. So if someone can come in and be like, I really like this, I'll be like, hell yeah, put that shit
just
on.
do it.
But like that's after years and years of like I said, having every experience that I can possibly try and have.
Right.
I've really tried my best with this place to build something that, is people are going to walk away with an experience. They're going to remember that forever, and they're going to want to come back.
Right.
They feel comfortable enough that, hey, that was really cool. I feel comfortable getting tattooed there. I'm going to rebook again. Yeah. And I've always stressed that with anyone that's ever worked with me in any of my shops, that if you're not getting people coming back,
there's a reason.
That's not on their end most of the time.
Yeah.
It could be on their end sometimes, but most of the time you're not providing something that they feel they need.
Yep.
And if you're not connecting with them on any level at all, then that they're going to see that tattoo for the rest of their life.
Yep.
Every time they look at it, they're going to remember how it was done, when it was done, where it was done. Yep. And with anything in life that's like a trauma experience,
right,
that sticks in your head more.
Oh yeah. So, absolutely. I feel like, with myself, the tattoos I have on me, like, some of them have meaning, and I know people get hung up on the whole meaning thing, but the majority of my tattoos, I look at that as what was happening at that time in my life, but also where I got it, what was happening in the shop. Like, I remember those experiences way more than, like, when I look at whatever tattoo, then I'm like, oh yeah, there's a meaning behind that. Like, right. It's way more about, like, that point in your life and that experience at that shop.
Yeah. Yeah. So, at the end of the day, that's that's what we try and provide at Smiles and Cries is,
Right.
and I try and push it a lot. It's the SNC experience, and you know, after working in a lot of shops and seeing the way a lot of people do things and whatever, this is how I feel
Yeah.
is, you know,
Well-
a cool way for people to spend the day.
And circling back to like with you wanting it to be comfortable for the artist too, like I've been more like more productive as far as painting and stuff goes because I feel comfortable to paint here.
Right.
Which sounds like whatever, but it really does help me become a better artist, which then also helps the person getting a tattoo because I just learned something from that last painting that I did here in the shop, and now I'm going to translate that into a tattoo.
Yeah.
So,
oh, that's, for me to hear that is super important. Like you know, it's a tattoo shop.
Yep.
Or a tattoo studio, but it's an art studio.
Right.
You know,
Right.
like, and that's what we are. We're artists.
Yeah.
So the fact that you feel comfortable painting here makes me very happy because it's
Right.
like, you know, I don't want to, it's a creative space, not just a space to get tattooed.
Right.
So,
Yep.
you know, I want anyone that's here to not just feel like they're showing up to work. Well, I hate the word work.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I got to go to work.
This
I
isn't
gotta
work for
show
us.
up.
This is our career. This is our
It's our
lifestyle.
passion.
Yeah.
So I never feel like I'm getting up and going to work.
No.
I'm getting up, I'm going to the studio.
Yep.
Because creating is
Yep.
everything in my soul. So it's like, I want to get there. I want to, whatever it is, like, and my wife will tell you straight away, if I'm not creating,
Well, I noticed that. Like
your
we had a
shit
little slow
runs
period.
wild.
And,
Like,
yeah.
and you're like, fuck, I'm going to jump off a building or
Yep.
something. Like, you know, like it's in us to create as an artist.
Yep.
So like,
Yep.
yeah, having a space to be comfortable to do that was number one goal for me.
Right. Well,
So
and
that you've said that, it makes me happy.
I think that going back to me coming from Illinois and coming here, I think that was one of my primary focuses was finding a shop that I felt, well, first, most like family, you know,
Yeah.
like I want that experience where I like the people I'm working with because you're
Of course.
with them constantly.
Most of the time you're with them more than your actual family.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. And then just feeling comfortable to be myself and in a place where like I'm excited to go to work. And so that was a goal of mine. And the fact that I found you guys so quickly, because it was only like 4 months into me being here or 4 or 5 months, that I found you. So like
Right.
it's, and I had a lot of people, from back home be like, because they knew like it was a slow process getting a clientele out here, and I mean still
Still is.
building, yeah. But it was really hard to pay bills there for a while, and I had a lot of people like, why don't you go to like a shop on the strip or whatever? I'm like, because I like it here. Like this is what I feel like is going to grow me the most as an artist.
Right.
And you've created that experience for me, which then translates into the type of work that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And doing that and building that type of client base is one of the hardest things we'll ever face in our industry. A lot of people are feeling that right now.
Oh yeah.
It's become very difficult. So, you know, doing something that makes you stand out, being yourself, creating from your soul, not from what you think people want,
Right.
is the best, but it's also the hardest way.
Oh yeah.
And something that I've heard, which really resonates with me a lot, is that the shortcut is the longest path.
Yes.
So to me, whenever I feel a certain way about what's happening, I remember that and I'm like, okay, like take your time, day by day, lay a brick every day. 20 years down the track, you'll turn around, there'll be a whole wall behind you.
Right.
And that's very, very important. I feel like,
Yep.
especially with what we do, we can't rush the process, and taking shortcuts to get there is only going to hurt your brand, hurt what you do.
Yep.
And hurt you as an artist in the long run, because
Absolutely.
you're going to sacrifice for money.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, some way we'll find the money to pay our bills.
Yep.
But you can never take back what you've done if you go on the wrong path just to get there.
Right.
So, I mean, it's very important for me as an artist, and also as someone who runs a studio and has other artists in it, to try and convey that to them also. I know it's hard. I know when times are tough, you feel like you want to
Right.
try anything that it takes to do it. But, you know, at the end of the day, like I said, I've been in it a long time and I've seen a lot of good and bad times.
Right.
So we always get it to the other side.
Yep.
You just keep pushing.
Absolutely.
So one important thing I want to touch on with you, because I know that you excel in this area, and it's also an area that not a lot of people, and when I say a lot, it's a very high percentage of people don't like to you know, go into this, but cover up tattoos. Now, the state of the industry right now is a lot different than what we've ever seen before. And I feel like in the next 5 to 10 years, when things sort of circle back around and we see, like, you know, the plateau of all these emerging tattooers, a big thing that we're going to get is cover-ups.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of bad work coming out. There's a lot of uneducated people tattooing, people who think that anyone can just do a tattoo, and now they've got this shit on them that, you know, they hate.
Yeah.
So I feel like, within the next 5 to 10 years, a lot of our work is going to be covering stuff from people who are just trying to get into the industry without any education. They didn't want to go through an apprenticeship. They didn't want to be an artist. They didn't want to get better at their art. They just wanted, they just wanted to tattoo, and they just wanted to try and make some money.
Right.
So, so with you, I've seen a lot of your work, especially from being here, that involves cover-ups. Tell me about how you feel about, like, that sort of process and why you like to do them.
It's weird because I really didn't think that was ever going to be something that was going to be in my portfolio of things that I am, like, promoting. You know, I knew cover-ups existed, and I thought that, you know, I'd do one here and there. My mentor, and my boss from back home, he was decent at them. And, like, I kind of picked up a lot of things from him and basically made them my own. And I don't know, just watching him do them kind of, like, sparked, like, oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Right.
And then it just one after another, the more I did, it just, like, was like, holy cow, like, this is actually really cool for me. Like, I think the best part of it for me, not only, like, it's cool to see the before and the after. It's really neat to see, like, the crazy things that you can actually do to cover something. There's like a science in it.
Right.
But, like, the person and, like, whatever they're getting covered, whether it's, like, their ex-boyfriend's name or, like, a really crappy tattoo that they got in college or whatever, it's cool to see their eyes light up at the end of it and be like, oh my God, I don't have to stare at that anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that just really pushed me into wanting to do more and more of them. And, like, I can still do the things that I really enjoy, like full color illustrative realism. I can do that as a cover up.
Yeah. I think your style lends very well to getting a good cover up.
Right.
Just because you understand color theory from painting, and you can move your tattoo machine around to, you know, incorporate things in the cover up to hide them, which a lot of people don't understand that part of a cover up.
Right.
They think that they can just get a picture, stick it over the top, try and do it the best they can.
Yep. Well, I think a lot of people are just like, here, let me stick some black over it.
Right.
And like that's not really how it works, because honestly, if you just stick black over something, you can still see it underneath. Pattern is really the best way, like pattern and like texture and all that. Like you want to like basically challenge the eye and like make it so that it's hard to figure out where that was. So like sticking just one color over it or just a block of something doesn't make any sense, because you
Right.
can still see it.
Right. And especially if the tattoo that was done before was really badly done and their skin has been scarred, no matter what you do, that scarring is going to still come through. So adding texture to the new tattoo will also hide scarring.
Right.
Just because it takes your focal point away from the area.
Right.
I mean, that's what I do in a lot of my work when I do cover-ups, and I explain to people, you know, you can't cover something with the same size tattoo.
No.
It always has to be bigger. You have to create a focal point outside of where the cover-up is, so that your eye is pulled to the new section, and the older section that might have to be a little darker and a little more textured and a little different is kind of like the background or a certain part of the tattoo that you're not taking 100% focus on.
Yeah.
Which I think not a lot of people also understand that.
I feel like I hear a lot, like people come to me and be like, I don't care what you cover it up, just cover it. I don't want to see it anymore. Well, that's the same mentality as what you had when you got the tattoo in the first place.
Right.
You should want to care like about what you're getting over the top of it, and it can be a work of art and it can be beautiful. But you have to go into it wanting that. And I feel like for me that's the excitement of it, is knowing that I can make something that is terrible into something beautiful.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure. No, I agree. And I think, you know, the reaction from people who get cover-ups to people who get first tattoos is a lot different. Like, it can really fuck with your mind having a terrible tattoo visible on your body. And it can make good-looking people ugly. It can make you look trashier than you really are.
Right.
You know, like you dressed up in a beautiful dress for a woman and you've got this bad tattoo on your arm, and no matter how you dress, that tattoo is going to bring you down to the level.
That's all you can see.
So it's like, you know, like when people get those covered up and get something beautiful, the reaction from them is a completely different reaction.
Right.
And I enjoy people seeing that. Like, because I know that, you know, it's like having bad teeth or something like that. You know, like you don't want to smile because your teeth suck. But then you go get veneers or whatever, or you get them cleaned and you smile and it makes you feel like a whole new person.
Right. I just had a client a couple weeks ago. She had worn long sleeves for like the last 10 years of her life.
That's crazy.
And it's like, I fixed that problem.
Yeah.
You know, like
now she's going to be on the beach. She's going to be wearing, you know, tank tops and feeling great about herself again. And, and you know, that's an insane feeling that you can do that with art. So, yeah, no, I think that cover-ups are great. And I think that the fact that you are specializing in them is also great for what you do, because, you know, people can feel comfortable getting that done, knowing that they're going to get something successful. I mean, not every single cover up in the world is 100% successful, depending on how bad and how heavy and how big the tattoo is before that. Yeah, because
there's always scarring and stuff like that.
Like it's not always 100% that you're going to get a piece that if you had blank skin, that it would look like that. And that's also something people have to understand.
Well,
like,
I think that's one thing that, like, I think that's the first thing I had to learn was it might look good, but like circling back to healing, like once it's healed, is it still covered?
Yeah.
So, and I mean, that's been a learning process. And I feel like I get better at it every cover up I do, but, just planning out ahead of time. Okay. I know that this gray is going to fade this much, or that one big Raven cover up I did, she was really concerned because the colors looked super vivid and she didn't want vivid colors, but I had to keep telling her those vivid colors are sitting over the top of black.
Right.
So like they're going to dull out like
down.
crazy, and they're going to be the colors that you're wanting.
Yep.
But I have to think of that ahead of time, and we had to put those bright colors in now, because if I put the muted colors in, it's just going to look like a big blob.
Muddy, yeah. And I think like that's where experience comes in. And, you know, like you go to an inexperienced artist for a cover up, they're just going to throw something on, not having no idea about how it's going to heal, what it's going to look like, what technique they need to use to successfully do that. They could blast it in on the day and it looked good, but like you said, when it heals up and everything evens out, and the tattoo underneath comes back with its strength, and the new one settles in, what's the result? Right. And you can only get that from experience. You're never going to get that from not ever doing something and just saying, yeah, I can do that. You know, like and I think, you know, again, the shift in the industry lends itself to a little bit of that now. So it's, so, you know, from a point of view, again, as a studio owner, it's cool to be able to offer that service to people. Right. You can come here and you can get a great cover up, and we know what we can do. Right. And we know what we're putting on you is going to, you know, heal a certain way and stuff like that. So
I think also like that relates back to like expectations and stuff, as far as like what we want our clients to know ahead of time when people are coming in for cover ups. Like I feel like they should know that you're pretty much going to have a second session with a cover up.
Blacks, everything has to be layered in. Right. Like and a big thing with cover ups is layers. Yep. Not everything can be done successfully in the first hit. Right. Because at the end of the day, skin can only be attacked so many times. Yeah. So, you know, for me, with a lot of things that I do, like if I'm doing something like that, I'll put all the blacks in and get them to heal, so that then I can then come back over and blast new stuff over the top. Right. Because sometimes if you're working on that and you're doing it all at once, well, your chances of it healing, from our point of view, is okay. From the client who doesn't know so much about babying that tattoo to get it to heal right, is different. And people don't know. They just want to go and show it off. They go for a run. They go to the gym the next day. Whatever it is, they don't realize that you need to baby that tattoo. Like
it's an investment. You need to take care of it just like
sit still. Else. Don't run. Don't go to the gym. Don't sweat. Don't hop in the sauna. Like
it's just a couple days out of your life. Like you can take that little break. Yeah. Like if you're taking the break to get the tattoo, take the break to heal it as well.
Yeah. So yeah, especially with like, you know, the topic of cover ups, I think that's a very important part of it. So with social media as a whole, how do you feel like, you know, what's its importance in tattooing now?
I guess there's two different things that stand out for me. One would be obviously getting my work out, so that like, you know, if social media didn't exist, it'd be a lot harder for somebody. You know, I just had somebody from Mississippi, you know, like that person wouldn't have known about me. Right. I mean, maybe 10, 20 years from now, if somebody that got tattooed by me went there and talked to that, or, you know, whatever, but chances are I'm getting a lot more wider variety of people, and people who don't get to see like that stuff in their hometowns, like they can find that now. Right. So I feel like that's huge. And that's the disappointing part for me with the whole TikTok ban, because I'm finding a lot of people from all across America and that's going to take a big chunk of that away from me.
Right.
I feel like also social media helps me learn. Not necessarily learn how to tattoo, although I mean there is that option out there, but that's a whole nother subject that we're super thrilled about.
I don't want to be that opinionated
yeah.
today,
but also like I'm finding products on social media and different like those stupid Sphinx cat head ink caps that I have. Like I got that from social media. So like little things like that. And, you know, I'm connecting to other artists who have similar styles as me, so I can see what they're doing. So it's a learning tool as well.
Right. And I think, you know, unfortunately, a lot of people won't accept it as a tool.
Mm-hmm.
They fight it. And, you know, I'm old school too. Like I come from the old school era, but as a studio owner, you got no choice but to embrace the way life is moving forward. I mean, you do have a choice, but you're going to get left behind.
Yep.
And I think now more than ever, we've got a way to advertise for free. Like we're not getting charged to be on social media.
Right.
So how is that not beneficial?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
People think you got to create all this crazy entertaining, you know, fucking getting hit by a car and this, like all this stuff just to get they're different sort of creators to us.
Yep.
So there's a lane for everybody. As tattooers, you know, it can get a little boring just seeing tattoos all the time. But at the same time, it's like, you know, like you said, reach.
Yep.
We have a lot of reach.
Yep.
We can show people outside of, you know, the word of mouth thing.
Yep.
What we can do. And I do still 100% think that word of mouth is the strongest form of advertising.
Oh yeah.
Most of everything I've ever done, like our first studio stuff like that, relied on word of mouth. There was zero social media.
Right.
So that's always been something very strong, a recommendation, a networking, you know, conversation, something like that is always going to be stronger.
Yeah.
I find a lot of people go on social media purely for entertainment.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's also tattoo critiques and opinions and, you know, like there's a way that we can use that to reach new clients, you know.
Well, and that I would say, you know, circling back to the Illinois versus Vegas topic, back home, I grew up there. So word of mouth was my thing there. Like I was hardly using, I mean, I was using social media, but it was more I used it as a portfolio rather than like getting people to see me. It was more of a, oh yeah, tell your friends this, and then word of mouth happens. So, you know, I had people from high school, I had people from college. I was really heavily into the classic car scene out there. So like everybody from all the bordering states, like that happened through word of mouth. But now that I'm out here and I don't know as many people, now I'm kind of relying more heavily on the social media.
That's right. Yeah. And it was the same for me coming from the Gold Coast. You know, people in my circle knew who I were there.
Right.
You know, same thing, car scene, the tattoo scene, all of that sort of thing. It's, and you know, it goes back to what we were talking about before about being a local and growing up in a small town that's a big town.
Yep.
And, you know, it does, you do rely more on social media, but you also rely on the people you meet to spread the word for you.
Right.
So everything we do has to be the best we can possibly do so that people can be our advocate. They can go out there, they can tell their friends about us and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, I think social media plays a very important role. And we've embraced it now. I mean, we've got someone that works for us full time just on that, trying to get the word out through advertising, through
Right.
marketing, all that sort of thing. So, you know, coming back to being a shop owner or a studio owner and the changes I've seen, you really, now it's like it's more business than it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
You have to build teams of people to do certain jobs.
Right.
Trying to do it all yourself is just, it's too much.
Insane.
It's insane. We're spending.
We're already, social media gurus
Exactly.
and everything,
Yeah.
on top of having to be a tattoo artist, it's too much. And then
It
you
is.
being a shop owner on top of it, it's just,
It's so difficult and it's so time consuming, and you know, you don't want to burn out to a point where you're not creative anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where, you know, we really have to treat it like a business where it's like, okay, this is your job, that's your job. You have to do this
Right.
week, so we all benefit from it.
Yep.
And that's something we never really had to do.
Mm-hmm.
So for guys that are a little older that are still running studios or you know, opening studios, it's definitely a big wake up call.
Yeah.
And opening a new studio in a new city with new client base
Yeah.
is even harder.
Yeah.
It's like 10 times at work to try and get that ball rolling, and
Right.
not only for ourselves but for you guys too, like
Right.
for everyone involved in the studio. And
Yeah, that's been fun being a new artist in a new town.
Yeah.
At a new shop.
yeah, exactly. Like it's
Yeah.
like it's like shit, like we're starting from the bottom.
Yep.
You know, and
Yep.
we're you know, again, it's just brick by brick, day
Yep.
by day. You show up, you do your best, you do what you can, and you put your best work in.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully over the next few years,
Right.
that shows and it starts coming back to us.
Well,
So,
and I think that's something that we can kind of let people know is like word of mouth is amazing.
Yeah.
And that being said, translating that onto social media, if you see one of our posts and you appreciate us or you love our work or you're friends of ours or family or whatever, and you see something of ours, it costs nothing to hit the share button.
exactly.
It, shout us out, show off your tattoo. Like that is almost more meaningful to me than, yes, it's great when somebody buys one of my paintings, but like the fact that you're sharing my work and somebody else gets to see that,
Right.
it's the same as word of mouth to me.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the new age word of mouth.
yep.
Is communication through social channels. So, you know, it's different for us than it is for the kids, but it's more relevant to them
Mm-hmm.
because their word of mouth is almost 99%
Yeah.
social media.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, like you said, it costs zero to show love.
Yep.
So, you know, sharing your tattoo, sharing the post about your tattoo, whatever it might be.
Yep.
Um,
Like if you see something that like, oh, my best friend loves floral, and she's been talking about this forever, tag her in, a comment like that. Like it's simple as that. And then if she doesn't like it, then she goes about her day. You wasted half a second by tagging her in a comment. So like anything like that is good. And I feel like, I get asked a lot, like, how can I help support you? Especially now that I moved out here, like family and stuff back home wanting to like help out. Like
right.
that's the most important thing.
That's
I
how
feel
you do
like.
it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I think lastly, I just want to touch on a little bit about you and what 2025 has. And, you travel a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So for anyone that might be watching, have you got any planned out so far so that people can sort of know where you're going to be at and all that?
Right now I don't have any tattooing travel plans figured out yet. I ideally would like to hit at least one convention this year. I did a convention before I moved and I haven't done one since. So
Right.
I would like to really find, especially like out here somewhere on the West Coast, a convention out here. So that'll probably be fall sometime. I'm not going to be traveling back and forth to Illinois nearly as much as I have been. So that's going to be a huge change for me. I do, as far, this isn't really travel goals, but I kind of put a goal in place to have like a mini art show by the end of the year. So
Okay,
I'm going to be doing a lot more painting.
Yep.
I'm challenging myself to get one painting done a month.
Mhm.
So hopefully I have at least 12 paintings by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Um,
That'll be cool.
so yeah, so maybe that'll take off and maybe I'll travel with that or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's it for today, guys. We'll be back with some more SNC TV real soon. We got more artists to interview. We got more crew to talk to, and more announcements to make as we go along in this year, 2025. For now, check us out on socials. Smiles and Cries Tattoo on Instagram, on TikTok. For now.
For now.
And then all our artist links are in the pages also, so you can check out all the work we do. You can check out anything you want to see. Smilesandcriestattoo.com is our website. Check that out also. No strings attached. Request a quote. You can get, same day. Send all your reference in. Tell us what you want. We'll give you a quote back. Doesn't cost you a thing. There's no strings attached on a booking. If you feel like you want to book after that, we've made a very easy and seamless procedure on the website to make an appointment. So, or you can text the shop, or walk in. We're more than happy to talk to you at any point. So thanks for joining us today. We'll see you on the next one.